You want to talk about Miss Mac and Cheese 2021?
Okay.
I got you there. You didn't see that one coming.
I didn't see that coming at all. Miss Mac and Cheese 2021.
It was your idea.
It was my idea. I think it would be a really great thing to do for mac and cheese. It's got to be an eating contest.
Are we in drag while we're doing this? Is it like anybody can enter?
What was coming to me was the idea of people have to use food for makeup. You have to get in drag using only food products, so you can use this actual mac and cheese powder for you.
Like cocoa powder for contour.
Cocoa powder for contour. It's Mac and Cheese 2022.
So anyway, welcome to AstroDivaz with Peterbilt and Stone. I'm Nikki Stone.
And I'm Mitze Peterbilt, and we are so happy that you're here. We just love bringing you into the creative process and taking a little bit of a different spin on astrology and awareness and embodiment, and bringing all of those things together in a way that you can fall in love with your creative process. Speaking of using odd products for makeup, it looks like you're still waiting for your glue stick to dry on your beard today.
Don't worry if you're listening on the podcast. We will have this up on YouTube too. But yeah, I'm lavender today. Thank you for noticing.
For those of you who aren't drag aficionados, there's this thing we do. We glue our eyebrows down with Elmer's glue stick, and when it's wet, it's purple. And then when it's dry, it's clear. That's how you know it's dry. So Nikki's beard looks precisely like the purple of Elmer's glue stick. We're not sponsored by Elmer's.
Working on getting sponsors later.
It is beautiful though. You look very springtime in Paris today.
Thank you. With a little, perfect for November.
Yeah, with a little McQueen skull. We got the McQueen thing with the beautiful
we
skull
got the
things
skull motifs together. Probably why we dove into our moons.
I was trying to capture my Jupiter Pisces today. Just go deep into the ocean. I think I went a little bit too deep today. Couldn't get out.
We're going to talk about that.
Couldn't
Don't worry.
Get out. Oh my God. Lord mercy.
How are you, Mitze?
Well, I'm a little cranky. The process,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, more than usual. The process of like setting up lights, getting the makeup done, getting the costumes, it was a lot today. So I'm just gonna settle in, find my feet, and expand into possibility. So what do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about the creative process today. We're AstroDivaz and we love astrology. And I think today's the perfect day for us to talk about how we use astrology to inform our creative process, especially since you're not feeling so great about it.
Perfect. Oh my God. It's so easy to want to take, like, I notice I get up here and I want to set that aside and get rid of it, but it's got to come along with me. Like I got to bring it with me just because it's something's feeling left out. So it just needs to be there sometimes.
Do you know what's feeling left out right now?
Do I know what's feeling left out? My need for order. When the lights get set up, there are cords everywhere, and when the costumes are everywhere, it's this thing, that the thing in the studio of when order falls out of the creative process for me, my personality wants to start acting out. And it starts getting really electric and charged. So I got to just take a beat. Um, yeah. And
So is that your Virgo sun or your Capricorn moon?
it's the two things working together, but I think what it really is it could be that Pluto Sun conjunction, because there are only a few degrees between the Virgo Sun and Pluto. So as soon as order starts going away, I'm ready to just eliminate everything altogether. It's like the machete needs to come out. It could also be the Scorpio, right? It's the water trine.
It's
It's
so many
it's
things.
it's all the things. It's all the things. So what I love about creativity and being a creative with astrology, um, as soon as I start asking the question, who's acting out, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a moon conversation. And the question when I notice my moon is, okay, what do you need? I need to feel successful. Um, I'm feeling like I'm not going to be good at this. So I know when that starts coming up, it's a moon conversation. If it really is order, then it's a sun conversation. And if it's image, how I look, it's an ascendant Scorpio conversation. So it's really great to be able to have some place to point in times of breakdown and be able to create on the fly. What about you? What do you notice when your creative process breaks down?
Today, what I'm noticing is how my creative process is different when I work with other people. Because working with you so many times, I jump into my Cancer Capricorn oppositional bit where I want to take care of you and I want to take care of the situation and I want to make everything better and I want to improve it and I want to like step in and mother you. And you always tell me to stop doing that. And really, I only get that super activated when I'm around other people. It's my Venus and like my Saturn Uranus conjunction that are really opposing each other. And those planets are about relations with other people and relations with how you are with the world and your reality. So it gets super activated when I work with anybody, especially with you, with your own Cancer Capricorn opposition that you have too.
Well, here's what I love about astrology and creativity. What is possible is to consider our charts as our psyche projected outward.
It's like I said, it's that Capricorn Cancer. And it's a little bit of my North Node in Pisces, a little bit of that, but not like the positive side of it, more of the shadow side of Pisces, where it's like very mutable and very like, what else can we do to like fix this and like let's have emotional security and let me create emotional security in you so I can have emotional security for myself. And
Right.
so I've got a little bit of like a watery, earthy thing going on. And the more you request of me to not be in that space because it doesn't support you, the more I say, okay, well, I'm just going to hop into my Gemini moon and the healthy ways that I know how to be it and just be like, I'm gonna do what I need to do for me
So
and for my immediate surroundings.
You just let me spin out and do my thing and be frustrated and let that play out. And then you just hop into your moon and get playful and curious.
And we're gonna have fun with
it. Of course we're gonna have fun.
Kidding. Yeah, that's part of the reason why we're doing this in drag. It's a way for us to encourage other people to mix your creativity with your spirituality, with your everyday life. Like the way astrology has opened up and the way somatic coaching has opened up my ability to just like merge all of the things together. Like, I'm not a very witchy person. I used to was a witch way back in the day.
I used to was a witch.
I used to was a witch. But there, and this is going to get dated sooner or later, but there's a full moon coming up and it will be hitting my sun, and it'll be an eclipse. So like that's a big, potentially a very big change in my life that's happening. And because I could see that coming, I chose to tap back into what I used to do a little bit. And I started doing a little ritual every day that really like makes me feel more at ease with what this moon cycle is going to look like. And previously, if I had done that, I would have been very serious about it, very serious. And I would have been like, I have to have the right intention and I have to sit and meditate. And yes, sometimes when I'm doing the ritual, I do that. But sometimes it's like, I just want to feel good because I lit this candle. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing while this candle's going, knowing that I'm breathing in those essential oils and that it's working with the calendula and the little salt in the little cup that I have it in. And it just feels good. And that's all it has to be today.
And that's what's important, that it does feel good, that it serves your creative process, that it is enhancing your access to your own vitality and awareness. And if we get too serious, I mean, I would have stayed Catholic.
What a Saturnian religion that is.
Oh my God.
Maybe it's more my sun. Maybe it's a little bit more Taurian. And like focusing on like, okay, I'm just gonna beautify myself and I'm
just gonna make pretty.
Yeah. Just gonna ignore what's going on around me.
My God,
it's pretty Taurus.
It's so hilarious. Goodness. It's been an ongoing thing for me. When I get in that space and other people around, like it's just me in my studio here. Obviously, we're in different parts of the continent at the moment. And when I'm by myself, I'll just like be Harry Carey, throw a tantrum, do the thing, because it feels like energy, and it feels like I feel like I'm producing. It's not healthy, but it still feels like it's producing. But when I'm around other people, the comic starts coming out. I'll start singing songs. I'll start entertaining people, because then I have somebody else around to sort of bounce off of, and that's always helpful. And that's one of the things I love about drag, because it's such a boundary-free creative zone. We use the phrase fall in love with your creative process quite often. And let's talk a little bit about what that really means. What does that mean to you, Nikki?
Falling in love with my creative process is all about awareness. It's about being aware of the different pieces of my creativity that are working together, and being able to see them from a different perspective. Instead of experiencing them firsthand, I can say, oh, this emotion that I'm experiencing right now is because of my Gemini moon or because of my Venus in Cancer. And I can choose in that moment, when I'm in that awareness, am I going to continue to experience it and like just fully let it flow through me, or does that not really serve me? And if it doesn't serve me, what can I do differently? Can I tap into a different aspect of my creativity, of my chart, that is going to push forward what I want to see as a result? Like last night, I went out dancing, and it was a night of just not having a lot of fun. And my Gemini moon was definitely not having a good time with it. And my Taurus sun also was just like, I don't feel like I'm getting satisfied in like my base desires for creativity and for being able to be around people that I enjoy. I was around people that I enjoy, but I had a lot of people coming from the outside who I did not enjoy, just kind of pushing into our experience. And
Mm,
I did choose last night to just stay in that kind of like wounded space of like I did my best to energetically tap into like a state of protection and a state of okay, I'm gonna keep these people away from me. And I would notice the second that I let that down and started trying to have fun again, it was like Uranus was right there. And just like boom, they're there again.
there they
So it's
are
like
again.
so it felt like in order for me to stay in this space, and I either get to have fun and be
Hmm.
interrupted
Hmm.
and not like what's happening, or kind of stay in this Venusian Cancerian protective space. So I would
Hmm.
bounce back and forth, and I wasn't really drinking a lot, so I had a lot of awareness about me. Um, and it was just kind of it was nice, which isn't a great word, to be in that space and not react so strongly. Because normally,
Hmm.
when I'm in that kind of space, like that kind of night would send me spiraling, and I come home completely upset and just,
And it would carry into
like,
the next day, most likely, because you'd
yeah,
be
like I would
repeating
have
it. And
exactly. So, um, it was kind of a relief. Like I did allow myself to get there, but I also was aware of what it was and where it was coming from
Mhm.
so that I wasn't giving in to the cycle that I know comes from that.
Yeah, it just, I find this, it's different now because we spent a lot of, we here, we honored lockdown and pandemic. We pretty much stayed here in our compound in Florida. And um, I've noticed that I have to work a little bit harder. What you're talking about is co-regulating, being able to have resonance with other people and feeling like you can be in your own state of belonging and awareness while you're in a large group of people. And that, as highly creative people, we can tend to be really sensitive. And we for it gets on my nerves. It sounds like that's kind of what's happening for you. And I noticed that I had to develop that skill again when things opened up and being out in large groups. I remember the first time I hosted a comedy gig again after we'd been on lockdown for so long. I had to really draw on all the tools that I had, and it was work. It was work because I wanted to show up and I wanted to be able to be there for the other comics. I wanted to give a good show, of course. And underneath the surface was that, Saturn, it's got to be this way. It's like really this kind of irritant that was going on, that it's probably more that Venus Saturn square. Like that, squares are all about irritation, the energy of irritability, and just this energy. If you're aware of it, that's what sometimes it is. So part of the creative process is really being aware of where you are in the moment. What's really going on inside? How is the outer environment affecting it? And what choices are we going to make? What questions can we ask ourselves to shift it? And sometimes, you spoke into this, sometimes it's just letting go of the belief that it needs to shift, that it needs to be any different. It just is what it is.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say as well, like falling in love means different things for different people.
Mhm.
Like for me, falling in love with my creative process feels like accepting who I am and what comes about with me. And I'm accepting the fact that other people might not be into me or they might be really into me. Like, and just being able to fully accept and love myself as I am. So what does falling in love like actually feel like for you?
Oh, falling in love is an utter surrender to what's happening now, not needing to change anything. I'm frustrated. I love that I'm frustrated. I'm in flow. I love that I'm in flow. I am confused. This is the tricky one for me. Because of the Mercury Libra thing. I hate being confused. And that's like when I get confused, that's where I tend to get triggered. So, just letting myself be triggered, letting that happen. And the instant I stop resisting it, it's like this chemical reaction happens and I expand within myself and then I have access. I'm not stuck in my head. I'm not closing myself off. So just loving the contrast of, because I'm a Virgo, I can be in my head a lot and just getting grounded and asking simple questions. What's happening? What's going on? Who do you want to be?
What part of your chart is that curious voice in your head?
The curious voice in my head, interestingly, is my moon, because it sits there in the third house. And if I can access that in a skillful way rather than an unevolved way, then I do find myself asking questions. Okay, what next? What do you want? What do you need? And it's not this rapid fire. It's a and it when I can tap into that third house of my moon, I really pause. And it because third house is about the immediate environment. And that's what's so beautiful about that third house moon for me, because if I can expand into the environment itself, I become more than myself. That's that transition from it's all about me in those first and second houses, and then it's all about you and the environment and the immediate surroundings. So I would say it's the moon, Nikki.
I definitely am feeling that for myself as well. Like the moon is one of the easiest now places for me to go,
Mm-hmm.
my moon, when I'm in that kind of like breakdown. Like my moon's in Gemini and it's in my second house. So I have a very similar way that I can experience it. But I don't drop in, like, I'm always curious. That's just me
It's
as
your
a
nature.
person.
Yeah.
So I don't have to find my curiosity like you do in the third house because it's like a place of your life
Mm-hmm.
versus the actual like sign.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because it's in my second house, it's a way to be flexible and realize like I have a need for these like money and what's the word? Personal resources to be fulfilled. So how can I be flexible in creating that in the moment? That's where like my healthy moon conversation comes into play and
Mm-hmm.
really helps me to fall in love with that creativity.
That's beautiful. I love it. That's what I love about astrology, because there's so many places you can go. You're
I
not
can't
just
wait.
you're not just this one sun sign. Like if especially with that Pluto conjunction, if I lived in my sun all the time, I'd probably be in prison. Eliminate. So that's the beauty of having all of these layers to go on. What's coming up for me is the ascendant. We've been talking a lot about the sun. We've been talking about the moon. How do you notice your ascendant being part of your creative process?
For me, it's a little difficult because my ascendant and my sun are in the same sign and they're only 6 degrees away from each other. So they have the same energy. Um, but it kind of creates a feedback loop for me in the same way where ascendant is a little bit more of like results and like
Mhm.
what is created in your world. So it's easy for me, especially learning that my moon filters through that, to see that it starts with this Taurian desire, filters through this Gemini way of being and personality, and then I get a result that's also Taurian.
Yeah.
So I don't, again, like that, and then that result just turns into another desire because it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm a Taurus, I'm going to build on top of that because it just keep building and building and building. I know it's a little bit more Capricorn than Taurus, but
Mhm.
Earth signs, we love playing in the dirt, so to speak. We love building foundations. So, um, yeah, I just flow right from results into a new desire personally.
Mhm. So it sounds like what you were talking about earlier, what breaks that feedback loop is working with other people. Because
Mhm.
it sounds like you have a really healthy self-generated feedback loop. And then when you layer on other personalities, it pulls you off into other places in your chart.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's not always a healthy feedback loop. Like it can be, it could, if that result that I'm getting is really positive and something that creates a positive desire that I can pull in, great. I could just keep going and going and going.
Mhm.
Especially with that Gemini moon. You hear how quickly I can talk. It's just like blah, 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 blah. It just
Mhm.
spirals. But that also means that when I'm getting the negative result, I have the same thing happen.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of knowing that that negative feedback loop is happening. How do I pull out of it? I focus out on other people.
Mhm. Focus, that's a vital part of falling in love with the creative process is being able to balance focus out and focus in. Let's talk to those cardinal fiery people for a moment. Maybe this could be something that you want to hear, because there's that tendency to be out in the world and creating and doing and initiating and really having a surge of momentum going through. And if we don't also come in and see what the effect of all of that is on our being, on our system, then we get burned out.
I would like to say, um, I love that you brought up that there's so many different ways to look at astrology and to look at how it affects our personalities. Because I think that's a perfect reason why we're doing the podcast. We're going to be
Mhm,
bringing other people in who have different perspectives than we
mhm,
do.
mhm.
And there's just such a plethora of information and interpretations
Yeah,
that you can pull with any kind of astrology. And like it feels like it's never ending. Like I
it
can
is
always
never
learn
ending.
something new.
Well, human evolution isn't going to stop until humans stop being. We're always going to expand. We're always going to grow. The cosmos is always expanding. That's its nature. And astrology is just a tiny little spark of an attempt to explain the unexplainable and and put some reason on mystery. And I that's never going to change. And astrology for you is going to be your version of astrology, and it's going to be completely different from me because I'm the one that's living in here, you're the one that's living out there. And we're going to talk about this with some of our guests coming up, is um the different perspectives of astrology and how we can get wrapped up, especially at this period of time we're shifting. There is a lot of um, there's not a lot of agreement on whether or not we've actually entered the Aquarian age. we're I you know and when you're in it and you're in the midst of it, how do you really know? It's like a fish trying to describe water. So that, that right there is Piscean. But when we start getting fanatical about, it's got to be this way and it's regimented, and this school says this and that school says this, that's kind of that unskilled version of Aquarius. So, we are starting to make that transition, and um, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in the next 20 to 50 years, as more and more people are really getting interested in this, and really that we have a different perspective because we have a global awareness now in a way that we've never had. And I think that's amazing. And so it's going to continue to get richer and more, I think, more practical, less woo woo.
More Saturnian, less Jupiter.
More Saturnian, less Jupiter. Yeah. Why are we doing this podcast? Because it's fun. Because we wanted to start having conversations of awakening and have a more creative and fun lens on it. We tend to take this process of waking up very seriously, very Saturnian, and we wanted to give we wanted to give some options. We wanted to bring in different people to talk about their creative process. We're going to have lots of different avenues to layer this self-awareness conversation onto. Thank you so much for joining us at AstroDivaz. We're delighted that you're here. We love you so much. And of course, find our Facebook group, Activate Your Axis with Peterbilt and Stone.
Get dishy with us on Instagram at Peterbilt and Stone.
That's Peterbilt like the truck and stone like the rock.
And of course, thank you so much for listening to us today. We really appreciate you.
We love you. Keep it light and do the work.